Welcome to the January 2021 edition of Hunt Camp Mail. I would say thank goodness that 2020 is finally over, but I don't have a lot of confidence in 2021 either. Before I get to the mail this month, there's a couple things I want to say about the last video I posted about conserving ammunition. That video was just a simple representation of the facts. I mean, number one, people are panic buying all the ammo and guns right now. Number two, people are panic buying out of fear due to the events of 2020. Number three, there's panic buying events every 8 to 10 years, but this one seems to be the worst one we've ever had. And number four, you should probably conserve your ammunition right now. I mean, really, that's all that video was about. In fact, that was the exact same outline I followed for making that video. Yet, it really touched off a lot of political sensitivities. Within the first 2 hours of posting that video, I got called a Nazi and a communist sympathizer. Think about that. People were calling me a Nazi and a communist sympathizer. Some absolutely crazy things were posted, and I had to delete a lot of posts in an effort to keep my channel from being reported. In a nutshell, that's how crazy things have become. And I'll be the first to let you know, I'm the wrong guy to cry about politics to, because I'm neither a Republican or a Democrat. And 90% of the people out there are political hypocrites, in my opinion. People really need to turn off CNN, MSNBC, Fox, and Newsmax right now. Watch what people actually say and do, not the commentary surrounding it, and form your own opinion based on that. Joe Biden said that he wants to make all semi-auto rifles NFA items. Joe Biden said he wants to stop the online sale of ammunition and gun parts. Joe Biden said he plans to remove legal protections for firearm manufacturers. Biden said he'll ban the importation of semi-auto firearms. Biden said he wants to restrict the number of firearms you can buy or own. Biden said he wants to set up a registration and licensing program in order for you to own a firearm. So if you claim to be a strong Second Amendment advocate, but you voted for Biden, I'm sorry, that makes you a hypocrite. I get it. 30 years ago, Democrats were for the working man and, wouldn't touch any legislation that hurt hunters. But those days are long gone. Those days are long gone, my friend. Supporting them on the national level is a huge blow to the Second Amendment and to hunting these days. If you vote for an anti-gun president or you send anti-gun representatives to Congress, you are the problem. Then there's the Republicans on the other side that got really mad at my video for showing right-wing extremists storming the Capitol. But most of these same people were horrified for the previous 7 months while the Democrats were out doing the same damn thing. So that makes you hypocrites. The storming of the Capitol was a stupid move in my opinion, and don't go full crazy ass on me and try to convince me that the thousands of people who stormed the Capitol were crisis actors or Antifa operatives. Some of those people probably were political agitators. That's conceivable. But the overwhelming majority of those thousands of people were obviously real Trump supporters from all walks of life. Don't make excuses for bad behavior, regardless of which political party they're affiliated with. That's being disingenuous. And do the guy who stated, I live in California and the Democrats here aren't anti-hunting. Well, sir, you're the blindest of all of them. Why don't you try hunting with a Nosler petition in California? Why don't you try to hunt with dogs? Why don't you try to hunt our overpopulation of mountain lions? Why don't you try to hunt on state land, most of which has been closed to hunting now? Why don't you try to get an antlerless tag? Why don't you try to import trophies from other states or other countries? Why don't you try to hunt bobcats? You live in a state where a legally licensed hunter has to go through a background check every time they buy hunting ammunition. Wake up, man. You are the problem for turning a blind eye to these clowns and putting them in office in the first place. But I'll be the first to admit that the comments on that video got way out of control. I deleted numerous comments like, "The only good Democrat is a dead one," and "oh, the Trump supporters need to be rounded up and put in prison." As of today, I've already deleted over 100 comments on that video from extremists on both sides. Most of my videos are hunting related, and I believe that upwards of 90% of my subscribers are probably hunters too. So I think that video attracted a viewer base that I really wasn't after. But rather than keep moderating death threats and hate speech in order to keep my channel out of trouble, I simply disabled the comment feature for that video. If you can't comment on that video, there's a reason. It's because people just are absolutely consumed with hate right now, and I'm not going to let my channel be an outlet for their expressions of it. As a follow-up to that video, I'm now seeing videos online of guys camping outside of sporting goods stores right now in order to get ammunition. You heard that right. People are literally camping outside of stores, hoping they'll catch a shipment of ammo when it comes in. And lastly, I want to thank all of my subscribers who generously offered to sell me some primers and powder to get me through this period. Because of that video, I was actually able to get a few thousand rifle primers and some powder that I needed. I have an absolutely huge supply of 9mm 45 ACP, 223, and 7.62 by 39. And I was actually able to trade some of my ammo for some primers. Once again, I want to thank everybody from the bottom of my heart who offered to help me out. I really wasn't expecting that. But no matter how bad things get, the bartering system is always alive and well. Well, let's get to January's mail. Our first question is from Frank in Miami Lakes, Florida. Frank asked, about 2 weeks ago, I was going to pull the trigger on a Model 70 and 375 H&H, the African model, because I prefer the stock over the Alaskan. I'm assuming the Alaskan might have an accuracy advantage because it's free-floated, whereas the African has the extra third bedding a few inches in front of the action. Interested on your thoughts between the two models. In any event, the African has completely disappeared from inventory just recently, and I can't find any in stock presently. Probably nobody can. So my next option would be a CZ550, but with the Bavarian type stock, which is more suited to shoot with iron sights than with a scope. What are your thoughts on one rifle versus the other? Well, Frank, I like both the African and the Alaskan Model 70s, but I don't personally shoot dangerous game with a 375. I use it for other tasks, so I actually prefer the Alaskan rifle in that cartridge because it's lighter, has a slightly longer barrel, and has that low profile fold down rear sight that's better suited for mounting larger scopes lower on the rifle. The CZ will have worse fit and finish than the Model 70, but it will also have greater magazine capacity if that's important to you. And to be honest, I'm really not a fan of the Bavarian style stock. In fact, most European hunters aren't either. In my opinion, I'd get the Alaskan and just be happy with that. And a Macmillan McWoody stock would look absolutely beautiful on that action if you choose to give it a facelift in the future. And our next question is from Justin. Justin wrote, "Thank you for the informative videos. I'm saving for a custom rifle. Largest game I'd like to hunt is elk and kudu size game. What caliber do you recommend? I'm indecisive between 270, 7mm .8, and 280 Ackley improved. I keep going full circle with calibers and I keep getting my head wrapped around sectional densities. I want something with mild recoil, with good barrel life. I'm an experienced rifleman, but a novice hunter. Also, I'll never shoot past 400 yards on game animals. Thank you for your time, and I look forward to hearing from you. Well, Justin, given the 3 cartridges that you laid out and the fact that you might be hunting elk-sized game out to 400 yards, I definitely take the 280 AI. Shooting 160 grain loads from the AI should knock down any elk at ethical ranges with authority. As long as you pick a good bullet like the Partition, Barnes, or an AccuBond, don't really worry about sectional density. Watch my video about hunting bullet hype, and that'll give you a lot more information on that. The 7mm 8 will recoil less and have greater barrel life, but really can't compare to the AI at 400 yards on an elk. So that's what I would take for that particular application. Our next question is from Jonathan from West Virginia. Jonathan asked, I purchased a 338 Win Mag, and there's not a lot of videos of that cartridge on YouTube. I'm planning a future brown bear hunt in Alaska and would like to know what advantages it has over the 300 Win Mag. Well, Jonathan, the 338 is the minimum I would use for brown bears personally. The 338 Win Mag is an absolutely fantastic round for bears, especially those interior bears that might require a longer shot. My personal rifle for those critters, though, is a 375 H&H shooting a 250 grain Barnes bullet. I also highly recommend that you purchase and read the book Ask the Grizzly Brown Bear Guides by J.Y. Jones. The author basically surveyed and interviewed all the top bear guides in Alaska and Canada about equipment and what they want their clients to use. This will give you a wealth of knowledge beyond anything that I can provide. So I highly recommend this book to you before you go to Alaska and do your first brown bear hunt. And our next question is from Michael. Michael asked, I just started watching your videos recently and enjoy them. My question today is, what are the top 2 most available cartridges for purchase in Africa if your ammo gets lost in transit while on safari? That's a pretty easy one. The 30-06 is without a doubt the most common cartridge at gun stores and in hunting camps on the African continent. 375 H&H is also very common. For dangerous game ammo, 458 Win Mag and 458 Lot are probably the most common I see there. And the beauty of owning a Lot rifle is that it can shoot both of those cartridges. And our next question is from Alex in Florida. Alex wrote, when I watched your video on the CZ550, I bought one in 375 H&H. My intent was to get the work done that you recommended to improve the gun. I want to get to Africa. About a month later, an older gent was selling his Winchester Model 70 in 375 H&H. He'd been to Africa a couple times with the gun. It has a 1980s serial number. I bought the gun along with 10 boxes of ammo, bullets, and dies. Now I only want to keep one. What would you do? Keep the CZ and have it worked on, or keep the Winchester? Well, Alex, if you plan to have Wayne at American Hunting Rifles work a package on that 550, you'll be more than happy with that, with his finished product, and will probably never want another 375 H&H again. A 40-year-old 80s vintage Model 70 of unknown condition probably can't compare to a brand new 550 with the number 2 package done by AHR. So, given the choice between a heavily abused M70 from the 1980s versus a new 550 with AHR's number 2 package, I'd take that 550 worked over by Wayne in a heartbeat. Our next question is from Matt from Polk County, Florida. Matt asked, I was curious of what you think of scout rifles. One rifle to hunt all North American game. I was thinking about booking an African plains game hunt in a few years and use a rifle built in 375 H&H, but modeled after the scout concept. Would this be a waste of time for Africa or actually hold value? Well, Matt, let me start by saying that I'm a huge fan and former student of the late, great Colonel Jeff Cooper. Even though he was a man way ahead of his time, myself and many of his followers were never fans of the scout rifle concept. In fact, I think it has more drawbacks to advantages. A forward-mounted scope is horrible in low light conditions, which honestly is where most hunting takes place. And, when the sun is at your back, like it often is while you're hunting, glare tends to consume that ocular lens and makes it hard to see through it. You're also not going to get a scope with a wide range of magnification with the scout concept. So, Cooper basically made a red dot shooting concept with a scope back in the day, before red dot sights existed. Nowadays, a red dot optic is much faster and packages way better than the scout scope ever did. So if you want magnified optics, skip the scout scope concept and mount a good scope on the receiver where it belongs. If you want to take quick snapshots with both eyes open, get a red dot and never look back. Don't ruin a good hunting rifle by turning it into a scout rifle. Even a lower power scope mounted over the ejection port is superior to a scout rifle, in my opinion. And our next question is from Klaus from Denmark. Klaus asked, I have a question as to how lead-free ammunition might affect the way we see and use calibers of old. Klaus basically wrote me a long letter in which he basically reasoned out many variables and ended up answering his own question in the end. But yeah, you definitely answered your own question, Klaus. Lead-free bullets let us step down in bullet weight to get the same performance as a heavier lead bullet because they retain their weight. Stepping down in weight also lets us drive that bullet faster, which the mono bullets really like to expand better. And as a final benefit, stepping down in weight helps keep the length of the mono bullets short enough to work within the twist rates of the same barrels. And our next question is from Andrew from Maine. Andrew asked, I just read that Savage came out with the new Impulse straight pull bolt action rifle. Is this another fad? Does it look like a good investment? Well, I've honestly never handled the new Impulse yet. As a matter of fact, the only ones who've handled it are the guys who were given examples to review who signed a contract with terms. So you really can't trust those reviews. What you should do is wait until actual consumers buy and use the mass-produced product before deciding to buy something. The reviews you're seeing right now are what we call fluff pieces. Also, remember the Savage Renegade shotgun that came out earlier last year? It was supposed to revolutionize the shotgun world, but it turned out to be a total flop with bad reliability. So it's best to save your money right now and just be patient. That being said, I'm a real fan of straight pull rifles. I have nothing against them. From my collection of old Swiss K31s to the awesome Blaser R8. I love a good quality straight pull, but will the quality of the Impulse be as good as the quality of a Heim SR30? I doubt it, but it'll be interesting to find out. I really hope it turns out to be an awesome rifle, though. As you know, I'm in no position to really render any opinion of it right now, though. And our next question is from Paul from Ridgecrest, California, just due east of me. Paul wrote, I work for the United States Navy in the project management engineering field at the Naval Air Warfare Center in China Lake, California. I recently discovered your channel and I am a new subscriber. While watching your latest video, Mojave Desert Chucker Hunt, I had noticed the area is extremely close to where I live in Ridgecrest. I've been hunting the surrounding areas for over 40 years. All of my children were raised hunting these hills and valleys. And yes, chuckers are challenging but rewarding to hunt. I do have a few chucker and quail hotspots near my home, just outside of city limits. If you're ever in the area, I'd be glad to share them with you. Well, thank you very much for the kind words and compliments. And please keep in touch, and perhaps next season we can collaborate on a chucker hunt video together. And our next question is from Hagen in Germany. Hagen asked, if you were given the chance to hunt with any historical person of your choosing for a day, who would you choose and why? Whew. If we had an award for question of the day, this one would probably win it. This question really threw me for a loop when I first opened up this email. And I probably spent a whole day pondering this question. Would I jump right into a hunt with Harry Selby? Would I spend my safari drinking and talking trash with Capstick? Would I tap into the college professor intellect of O'Connor? Would I exploit the huge wealth of hunting experience that a man like Finn Agord has? Would I get a shooting lesson from Annie Oakley? Davy Crockett might be fun too, but also, you never said the historical person had to be a professional hunter. Ben Franklin would be a hoot to hunt with in the field, although he probably wouldn't be walking very far. Da Vinci would be fun to hunt with. Winston Churchill and I would probably get along wonderfully. But I guess I really have a certain type of person, though. People who are witty and cynical without being condescending and uppity. People who don't let their emotions get the best of them, but are still capable of empathy. Those that don't wear religion on their sleeve and judge others. The type of person who takes accountability and isn't afraid to show humility when it's warranted. And most importantly, I like the type of person who isn't afraid to have fun and make light of everything. But after a whole lot of consideration, I think I'd have to choose Ernest Hemingway to do my historical hunt with. The guy was an intellectual with more real life experience than anyone I could think of. He was a writer, journalist, soldier, hunter, fisherman, sea captain, international spy, boxer, matador, and husband. He literally did everything and went everywhere. He was the type of guy who would rather get drunk with the locals than rub elbows with social elites. He had the same religious indifference that I have. He was a complicated man looking for the simple things in life. And sometimes I feel like that. He could sit and laugh at anything, even himself. And he enjoyed every minute he spent out hunting and fishing and really savored every detail of that experience. Even though we'd probably have some disagreements politically, Hemingway's a guy I could hunt with all day and probably drink with all night. So Hemingway would be my dream hunting partner for a day. And our next question is from Mark from North Carolina. Mark wrote, my question is about barrel break-in, which I've never seen done before. Is it some type of mythical jujitsu or is it a real thing? Is this something you do with your new rifles? Well, Mark, the answer is actually yes. Unless you have a chrome-lined or nitride-lined barrel, you should do some form of barrel break-in on a new barrel. And I won't go into the details of it here, but After I got my request in October's, and I think it was October and November's hunt camp mail to do a barrel break-in and rifle cleaning video, dozens of other YouTube creators jumped up immediately and made videos on the exact same subject. So I actually started making that video, but I shelved the idea because it was no longer very original. So, if I get enough requests in the comment section to do that video, I might make that video anyways. And our next question is from Dave in Windsor. Dave asked, looking at Winchester Model 70s with 1964 and 1973 manufacturing serial numbers in 30-06 with 22-inch barrels for $650 and $800. Is it worth it in your opinion? Well, honestly, I think they're asking too much, Dave. Those are post-64 push-feed rifles, and you could get a brand new Model 70 for a little more than what they're asking for those old used rifles. And, I just bought a brand new X-Bolt for $800. So there's no way I'd spend $800 on an old plain sporter push-feed rifle. Now, our next question is from Peter from Virginia. Peter asked, what's the best twist rate for 416 Remington Magnum? I see 1 in 12 and 1 in 14. Well, Peter, 1 in 14, in my opinion, is the best twist rate for 416 Remington Magnum. It shoots the 450 grainers all the way down to the 300 grain bullets perfectly. And that's what Winchester uses, so there's really no reason to change it, in my opinion. Our next question is from Paul in Alabama. Paul asked, I got a Model 70 Safari Express that usually wears a low power scope with QD rings. Knowing that if my scope gets messed up and I need to use my irons, has me wonder about using the stock sights, or should I possibly upgrade to the fiber optic types that grab your eye's attention? Well, Paul, in my opinion, the factory Model 70 Express sights are perfectly fine. Personally, I wouldn't mess with them. Just whatever you do, be sure that you zero your ammunition with your iron sights at 50 yards. And our next question is from Andrew. Andrew asked, I love all your videos, quality content, and non-biased opinion. I'm curious of your impressions of the Frankie Affinity Elite. Well, I think that the Affinities are great mid-range price shotguns. You won't get the fit and finish of a Benelli or a high-end Beretta, but the Affinities just flat out work from what I've seen. Just for your info though, the Benelli M2 is only a few $100s more, and you get one of the most reliable semi-autos ever made with that money. So that's something to consider. But I have nothing bad to say about the Affinity, especially if you can get a good deal on one. And our next question is from Phil from Modesto, California. Phil wrote, I've been hunting valley quail my whole life and learned a great deal from your quail hunting video. I have a question though. How do storms affect quail during hunting season? That's a great question, Phil, and something that I really should have added to the video that I did. Rain does have a great effect on quail behavior, both during and after the storm. Quail don't have waterproof feathers like ducks and geese do, so their feathers can start to soak up water like a sponge with prolonged exposure to rain. And this could be deadly for them if the temperatures get too low. So during rain events, quail tend to huddle up and hide in warm, dry places and wait for the storm to pass. But during breaks in the storm, or especially the day after the storm ends, Quail will usually come out into the open in great numbers to feed heavily on all the new shoots that come up and the abundance of insects and worms that appear after the rains. I found that quail hunting the day after rain stops is one of the most productive times to hunt quail. And our next question is from Russell. Russell wrote, just wondering what you think about the Savage Axis 2 precision rifle. Since it's made with the MDT chassis and that it comes in calibers such as 270 and 30-06. It's nice that there are hunting calibers paired with a precision platform. If somebody wanted to get one of those chamberings in a precision and recoil absorbing platform, is it worth it? Well, I don't know if, since this is a hunting channel, I'm going to assume you're asking me this from a hunting perspective. But I honestly don't think it's worth it for a hunting rifle. With optics, ammo, and a sling, the carry rate of the carry weight of that gun is going to be 13 pounds or more. Who the hell wants to carry a 13-pound 270 rifle out deer hunting in the field? I mean, nobody does. Also, the magazine hanging out the bottom of that rifle will limit how well the rifle carries. And the weight forward design is better for shooting targets from prone or from the bench rather than offhand in the field. Honestly, you could get a Browning X-Bolt for the same price, or, shoot a $500 Howa and have a better hunting rifle than that Savage Precision rifle is. And our next question is from Dave from Wisconsin. Dave wrote, I recently watched your video on the Browning X-Bolt. I purchased a Browning X-Bolt white gold medallion and 300 Win Mag. I also purchased a Leupold VX6 HD scope. What would be my best choice for a scope mount base and rings? Thank you. Well, Dave, for scope mounts and rings for a hunting rifle, look no further than Warren and Tally. They have great American-made quality and top-notch customer service, in my opinion. If you prefer the integrated rings and mounts, get the Tally. If you prefer separate rings and bases, get the Warren Mountain Tech stuff. It's really that easy. And our next question is from Javier from Corona, California. Javier stated, I just determined that the best way to go with an AR-15 in California is to go with a featureless build. What grips and stocks do you recommend for a featureless build in California? Well, Javier, for the AR platform, I've used nothing better than the Thorson FRS stocks. And I think this is the second generation FRS. These let you use the rifle controls as intended. They really feel natural in the hand. And they let you use our pre-ban and Freedom Week standard capacity magazines. For my AKs, I prefer the standard grip wraps. The safety can be operated fine with the grip wraps on using the Kalashnikov platform. So a simple grip wrap's fine for the AK. But you are right. If you plan to use your AR as intended, featureless is definitely the way to go in the People's Republic of California. And our next question is from Sam in Billings, Montana. Sam wrote, Desert Dog, I really enjoy your channel and look forward to every video. I have a question that is also a gripe. Since bullet manufacturers stopped updating loading manuals and moved all of their content online, I've noticed that they've given up on providing loads for many of the cartridges I like to shoot and are not providing load data for these less common cartridges using their newer bullets. And to make matters worse, the online stuff only gives you loads for a few powders now, where the old books would give you loads for many different powders. Now that the internet forums are ghost towns, you can't really get any new load data on the internet. Pretty soon, reloaders are going to start guessing and somebody's going to get hurt doing that. I know that you stay current on loading many non-common cartridges. What do you use for reference? Or do you just make an educated guess? You know, you're preaching to the choir here, Sam. I've felt that the ammunition industry has been slowly abandoning reloaders for a while now. You know, what I did was completely abandon chasing loads published by bullet manufacturers. And I started concentrating on loads tested by the powder manufacturers. And now that Hodgdon owns almost every powder company, that's usually the best place to start. So I'm just like you, I like to flip through these reloading books and mark the pages and use that for reference, rather than constantly going online to find things. But they just aren't keeping up with these anymore. But they're still a very valuable and important resource for folks like us. Hodgdon publishes this annual reloading manual in magazine form. It doesn't have some of the really obscure cartridges in it, but it has most of them, and it gives you way more data than any reloading manual from a bullet company ever did. You could see in here, going through, look at the reloading data. In this manual, actually has a lot of great articles in it on individual cartridges. And, look at it, has all these tables in it, basically giving you burn rates and uses for different powders. It gives you an explanation of each type of powder. And the load data in here is just absolutely fantastic and way more detailed than anything that you're going to get out of a normal reloading book. Look at this. Look at these 25-06 loads. This is all 25-06 Remington. All these loads right here. Look at all 25-06. And even look at the 100 grain bullets right here. It gives you virtually every powder, how it performs. And the great part about this is not only does it give you starting loads and maximum loads, but it tells you the pressure of each load, which is amazing. So I get way more out of the data on these annual Hodgdon manuals than I do out of any reloading book. So this is what I always default back to. And if you don't get this magazine and you're a serious reloader, you need to start getting it. This annual reloading manual has been worth its weight in gold to me. And our next question is from Tyrone in Kentucky. Tyrone asked, I like reloading my own bullets, but I feel like I need a better press because I want to start being more accurate. I see some of your groups from your hunting rifles and want to know what press you use. Also, can you make a video on how to make hunting loads and guns more accurate? Well, Tyrone, that's a pretty good video idea, although it would probably end up being another long, boring video if I do it right. So I'll have to think on that one. Now on to the press question. I really only use single stage presses for loads where accuracy matters to me. I'm currently using a Mech Marksman press, and I feel that that's the best value for precision single stage press. Another press that I highly recommend is the Forster coax press. The coax is probably the number one press used by serious loaders that I know. Even many bench rest shooters that used to seat on an arbor press are moving to these single stage presses with floating shell holders on them. In the past, I've used Lee presses, the old rock chucker, and Hornady presses, but when I actually started to measure run out and care about it, I couldn't use those presses anymore. And the older those presses got, especially the Lee, the worse the run out would get. So my Mech Marksman is absolutely a solid press and produces some great ammunition with very little run out. So take a hard look at the Mech Marksman or the Forster Coax. They're both fantastic presses that make absolutely excellent precision ammo. And our next question is from Thorsten from Germany. Thorsten wrote, I love my single shot drop barrel rifle in .308 and .338 Lapua conversion barrels, which I could swap within seconds. If I go to Africa for big game hunting, is there a need to go to a big bore caliber like .375 or 9.3 by 62? And does it make sense to go there with that kind of rifle? I think a bolt action rifle has advantages, although I am very quick in reloading the next round with my current rifle. Well, Thorsten, if you're not hunting dangerous game like buffalo, there's absolutely no need to have a .375 barrel. Honestly, even your .338 Lapua barrel is overkill for plains game. You know, your .308 barrel will handle all of your plains game hunting needs and will easily take anything from springbok to zebra. The .338 is really unnecessary and would take up too much weight from your ammunition allowances for the flight. On to the second question, a bolt action rifle would be a much better option for your hunt, but many, many thousands of African animals have fallen to single shot rifles over the years, especially the Ruger number 1. And many hunters enjoy the added challenge of going all or nothing on your first shot. So bring your single shot rifle if you're good with it and enjoy the experience. Just be mindful that you do slightly increase the risk of paying for a trophy that you didn't bring home. Our next question is from Joseph in the United Kingdom. Joseph wrote, Desert Dog, thank you for a wonderful channel full of interesting content. I watched your Belize bonefish video, which made me interested in going there. I fished for bonefish when my wife and I went to the Bahamas on holiday and became addicted to it. I've since purchased several travel rods and tackle in preparation for my next bonefishing adventure. In that video, you caught bigger fish right in front of your room from the dock than you did from a chartered boat. Is it worth paying to hire a boat there? What other bonefish destinations do you recommend in the area? Well, Joseph, it's absolutely worth hiring a flats boat and fishing the flats while you're in Belize, in my opinion. If for nothing else, Belize has absolutely monster permit that roam the same flats as the bonefish, and you have a really good shot of them there. A really good shot at catching them there. Also, if you're looking at other destinations, don't discount the Florida Keys. They're often overlooked place. You'll save lots of money fishing the Florida Keys. And to be honest, I think Florida is a better fishery than the Bahamas. I went ahead and emailed you some information on my favorite flats captains in the Keys, and I highly recommend giving them a call. The beauty of the Florida Keys is that you and your wife can land in Fort Lauderdale or Miami, rent a car, and drive all the way down the Keys to Key West and stay in fish your way, stay in different spots throughout the Keys and fish your way down. I mean, that's the way to do it. And driving down Highway 1 through the Keys is also one of the most beautiful drives in the world, in my opinion. But Belize is an awesome country with lots of stuff to do besides fishing, like explore Mayan ruins and dive or snorkel on the pristine reef out on the coast. So they're both great destinations, but don't overlook the Florida Keys. But I also want to point out, I wouldn't buy any plane tickets for any of these destinations right now. I know here in America, Joe Biden just put travel restrictions on the UK, and I'm sure other countries are sure to follow shortly. So I'd wait till some of the hysteria surrounding this pandemic kind of simmers down a little bit before I'd even consider doing international travel right now. And our very last question of the day is from Albert from Las Vegas, Nevada. Albert asked, when you load your hunting bullets, do you go by overall length or do you use ogive length? I'm learning to reload from a guy that's been doing it for over 40 years, and he uses overall length. But on a Facebook group I'm a member of, everyone says to only use ogive length. What's the truth, Desert Dog? Well, Oscar Wilde once said, the truth is rarely pure and never simple. And I think that applies here. I only use cartridge overall length measurements to make sure a load fits in the rifle magazine with a little bit of room to spare. And after I'm sure that the load will fit and cycle reliably from the magazine, I then only use base to ogive measurements for bullet seating. The ogive is what touches the rifling first, so that's what you should be measuring bullet jump from, in my opinion. Modern long profile bullets have a lot of space between the tip and the ogive, but a lot of old timers are used to the short, stubby, flat base bullets, and using cartridge overall length, wasn't really a big deal with those bullets, but bullet length is a real big deal nowadays. Also, bullet tips tend to have slight variances, and measuring overall length can be an inconsistent measurement because of that. I'm not saying that your buddy's a bad reloader. I'm just explaining how I do it and the reason that I do it my way. But it's good that you found a guy to mentor you and show you the basics of reloading. A lot of people don't have that. If I were you, I'd listen to him, maybe do things his way, then develop your own reloading program based off of the results from your own load testing in the future. I've probably tweaked my reloading method 30 times since I started. So things are constantly evolving in the reloading world. Remember, there are no facts, only interpretations. Well, everyone, that concludes another month of Hunt Camp Mail. I'd also like to thank Mike from Arizona, Patty from Oklahoma, Michael from Tennessee, Adrian, Alexander, Christopher, Lee, Dale, Umar from Ontario, Adam from Texas, Tom from San Jose, Marcus from Georgia, Jacques from Quebec, Antonio from Texas, Brian from San Diego, Freddie from New York, and Bill from the Treasure State. Thank you for your kind letters and well wishes, and I'm sorry I couldn't include every letter in this month's mail. I'm starting to get a lot of correspondence, so I'm trying to address the simple or unique questions to pack as much material as I can into these videos without letting them go just too long. I have several video ideas for next month, including another cartridge history and review video that I think you're going to like. So thank you very much for subscribing to my channel and for corresponding with me. I definitely don't have all the answers, and I'm not an expert in any capacity, but I can render a well thought out opinion from time to time. So you can always reach me with questions and comments at desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. That's desertdogoutdoors@gmail.com. Once again, thanks for watching and good hunting.